2 nails which have made a bid for freedom, but
Oh yeah, I've done one more layer. I don't think it's made much of a difference, to be honest. Jesus,
that
Paul.
is so beautiful, Pulse.
It was more beautiful, but I've lost 2 layers.
How did you lose those 2?
I don't know. They just popped off when I like.
And not the middle one. Like, how do you lose the 2 that are sort of protected by the outside?
Well, so when I was in fun story, when I was in college,
here we go.
One of my tutors in college was missing this finger. Like this one.
Yeah, that's not like impossible.
No. So he was a part of a biker gang, right? Like,
of course he was.
So it was a part of like a biker gang that was based in Sheffield, and basically he said that he lost his finger in like an engineering incident where it got crushed, but his big finger didn't. His little finger next to it didn't, but just this one finger got crushed and he lost that finger, but not his middle finger. And he was adamant that's how he lost it, but I always believed it was part of his ritual for the biker gang that he was in, because he was also vice president of the biker gang when we did some searching and we found it. So
wow.
Yeah, that was my story.
What do you mean ritual? Like hazing, or like did he get like punished?
I don't know, but like if you've ever like their website was pretty messed up. I don't think it still exists. This was like 2012, but yeah.
What was this man doing?
Yeah. Big Norm.
Was he in a biker gang or like those
Japanese
gangs where
it was
like,
a biker gang as well as being like a teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I've just lost another nail.
Holes.
Right. How did you attach these nails, and why are they falling off so ridiculously?
You attach them with tape.
I put, to be fair, I put the least amount of glue. Well, I didn't, James. As you know, I didn't put any glue. I didn't do any of it, but but yeah. Just before we go, Pixel Cookie with £5. Thank you.
Ooh.
For 30 minutes till race start, but I only had 30 minutes on my lunch break. God damn you, employment. Yeah. I
become jobless like
the rest of us.
I know your struggles. So
but no, I will leave you guys there. Have a wonderful British Grand Prix. We will be back next week. No, the week after for the Belgian Grand Prix. I will put all the donations that came from today's stream towards Mario Monza. Apologies, I didn't have it on the screen, but it will go into that. Is there anything else? Subscribe to the Patreon. Always do that. Just that.
Always do. Yeah, it's a great place. It genuinely is. And yes,
I do like the green duck. I think it suits you. I think it
does.
Does it?
Yeah.
You know, surprisingly, I barely got any of it on my skin.
It's also very close to the green on your like Mexico jersey.
I know, right? Which, by the way, Mexico is winning tonight. I hope you know that.
We'll talk about it in 24 hours time.
Yeah,
probably not even that right now, right?
Hours. Yeah,
probably 12 hours time.
We'll talk about it later.
Thank you guys. See you soon. Oh wait, I forgot to tell them to turn off the stream on the Crash Happy one. Well, we'll see if they turn off the stream on the Crash Happy account, or if we are on there forever. Hello, my wonderful chat, though. How are we doing? Hello. Apologies, I saw some chats coming through. I'll get to them now. W Lego race. I did enjoy it. Was it as good as the Miami one? I'd like to get your thoughts on that in the comments. We'll see how people are feeling about that one. Oh, Twitch title still says qualifying. I always forget to change the Twitch title. It's because it doesn't do it automatically. I can do it on the on OBS for YouTube. I need to find a way of doing it on OBS for Twitch too. But thank you. I will shuffle that around now. And we will quickly get up my own stream so it is ready to go. Beautiful. How am I? I'm good. I've got nail polish on. I think it's fairly dry at this point. I keep sort of waving my hands to try and dry it. Let me give it a towel test. Yeah, it's pretty dry. Which is a good thing, bad thing, maybe. Preferred the Miami one? I think I might have preferred the Miami one too. To be fair, I wasn't watching it wholly because I was also doing the Crash Happy pre-race stream. But it felt like the Miami one had a little bit more. Maybe it's just because it was the first one. You know, it's always difficult to do a sequel. Maybe it's just because it was the first one. You are still on Crash Happy. There's nothing I can do about that. There is. I'll quickly see if I can change it around. Here we go. Should we try and get over there? Switch account. Crash Happy. Everyone was in a single group. That's also true. Yeah, everyone was kind of clumped together a little bit more for that one. Where for this one, it was a bit more separate. And you had MBS in there. Of course you did. Because he just has to be involved in everything. Does Mohammed Ben Sulayem. Just can't let anyone else have some fun. He didn't even have a Lego kart as well, was the main thing. It was so stupid. It was clearly like a last-minute addition that he'd made himself and just said, oh, I'm going to be in the race too. And they were like, well, we don't have a kart for you. So they just went and got a random kart, stuck an FIA sticker on it. They were like, oh, that'll do, I guess. Yeah, MBS getting involved is so just ridiculous, isn't it? Just so stupid. Oh, my goodness, I think I just got nail polish on me. Oh, no, I'm okay. MBS Loki ruined the race. Sorry for Crash Happy Super Chats. Never apologise for Super Chats, especially because Audi and Liam, I think, are one of the more interesting topics of this season so far. I feel like they're both sort of being underplayed a little bit. But Audi, in particular, I really wanted to talk about because it just feels like the constructor standings don't really reflect where Audi should be. But at the end of the day, you got to get it done. Got to get it done. Why am I not in Silverstone right now? I debated it, but to be honest with you, Silverstone is just so expensive. Like, for people that maybe aren't from the UK, Silverstone is probably the most expensive Grand Prix. I think we talked about it yesterday. Possibly Las Vegas has now taken the title. Yeah, I remember Sarah saying that Las Vegas has taken the title as the most expensive. But Silverstone is like the second most expensive Grand Prix on the entire calendar. To the extent that last time I went to a Grand Prix when I went to Budapest, you could fly to Budapest, stay in a hotel, go to the Hungarian Grand Prix, and it cost less than going to Silverstone, which I live like 2.5 hours away from. So yeah. I feel like Lawson is really showing his potential. Kudos to him. Yeah, definitely. Actually, in fact, let's chuck up the Drivers' Championship standings so that we can see it. Because post-sprint race, it does change a little bit. Not a considerable amount, but a little bit nonetheless. And if we have a little look at the Drivers' standings as it is right now, like Liam Lawson is sort of closing in on Pierre Gasly. I think it's that battle that I'm most interested in the midfield. I think Colapinto versus Behrman's also an interesting one, but feels like Colapinto will just get there because the Haas car has fallen off a cliff. So if Behrman was still a little bit more competitive, that would be a bit more of a battle between Colapinto and Behrman. Maybe also you can throw Lindblad in there as well as a bit of a trio. Colapinto versus Lindblad could be quite an interesting battle as it develops. But yeah, I just don't have any faith in the Haas car. But yeah, you look towards the back end of the grid. The fact that Bortoletto's only scored 2 points, which is below Ocon, is mad to me. And then also you've got Nico Hülkenberg below Fernando Alonso. Also just doesn't really equate to making sense of the season so far. But that's how it goes with the points sometimes, right? You've got to be there when the points are available. And you've got to grab them. And Audi, unfortunately, it's just been the reliability problems. They've been so unlucky with strategy decisions at some point as well. Like, just unfortunate that Nico Hülkenberg and Gabriel Bortoletto haven't been in the right place at the right time. And they've sort of opened the door for Williams to score more points, Aston Martin to pick up a point. Like, yeah, really frustrated if you are an Audi fan for this one. My prediction is either of the Mercedes is going to DNF. Oh. I mean, we can talk predictions too. In fact, let's start on predictions. We'll go through the championship and then we'll catch up on the grid as well, because we've got 19 minutes until the start of the Grand Prix. So we've got a little while to talk through a few bits and pieces. In terms of your predictions, remember these came in before the sprint race. So they were locked in a day or so ago now. You guys predicting Lewis Hamilton to do it, to get that 10th win in Silverstone, with Kimi Antonelli and George Russell on the podium behind. So Antonelli looking like he's going to probably go on to win this one. Might be a bit tricky for Lewis Hamilton to do it, but if he's going to do it, if you're going to pick a driver that's going to be able to win in Silverstone out of absolutely nowhere, Lewis Hamilton's a good shout. He's done it quite a lot. He's been on the podium 14 times in Silverstone. So likely will add to that podium tally. Will he add to the winners tally? We'll have to wait and see. George Russell's an interesting one, though. You're expecting George Russell to be able to get past Charles Leclerc possibly there. Will he be able to? I think Charles Leclerc will be a good battle for George Russell to begin with. I do think the Mercedes car has the better pace. And I think Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton will do their best to hold off George Russell. I don't know if they will be able to, though. If I was going to swap around a little bit, I think Kimi will win. I think George Russell will probably be second. I just think the Mercedes race pace is too much, particularly because George will be able to do some undercut bits and pieces with the two Ferraris in front of him, and then put Lewis Hamilton in third place on the podium, I think. You guys have said your surprise package for the weekend will be Arvid Lindblad. Can completely agree with that. Starting ahead of Liam Lawson. Points on the board, possibly. Just missed out on points during the sprint race, but helped Liam Lawson hold Isaac Hadjar at bay for a touch, and actually it helped the Racing Bulls team pick up that point. I feel like Isaac Hadjar getting a surprise point, maybe even a couple of points, is certainly doable. Best team Mercedes, I agree. I think they will come out of this weekend with the most points. Struggle Charles Leclerc. It's looking like Charles Leclerc might have a good weekend for the first time in a little while, but there's still a race to go, and still 52 laps between him and the checkered flag. So we'll wait and see on that one. Aston Martin, you're expecting to be the flop team of the weekend. I can understand that too. I can understand Aston Martin being seen as the flop team for the whole season, to be honest, because they are very, very much just a disappointment. A disappointment, I think, is the word I'm looking for. Let's go to looking through the strategies and things available to the teams this season as well. In terms of the tyres, we do have the C1, C2, C3 for this weekend. I think it's going to be two-stop strategy. It's one of those where, like, couple of races ago, we had the three-stop strategy in Spain that worked mainly because of the virtual safety car, although not just because of the virtual safety car. Then last time out, Ferrari tried to do the three-stop again, and it really didn't work in Austria. There was just way too much traffic. Traffic won't be as big of a problem in Austria, so Ferrari could maybe go for that three-stop again. I mean, we know that Ferrari's tyres don't last as long as Mercedes here already. We saw that in the sprint race where Hamilton was able to keep Antonelli at bay for 10, 11 laps, was it? And then it's just the Mercedes tyres were able to come out on top, and Kimi Antonelli was able to nab that sprint win away from Hamilton. So I feel like it's going to be a similar thing again today, where Ferrari will need a leg up in terms of strategy, whether that's by zigging and going for a three-stop, or whether it's pitting under a safety car where Mercedes don't, or trying something a little bit different. I think Ferrari again need to be aggressive and need to try and sort of take the race to how Mercedes just sort of have the race pace, right? So Ferrari need to take the race to them and sort of try and press them a little bit, which they can do, to be fair. If they can keep George Russell behind for the first stint at least, it means that they can try and win the race with both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, right? Because they'll have two Ferraris just behind Kimi Antonelli, and Antonelli can't react to both of them. So if they can keep both Ferraris within touching distance of Kimi Antonelli, then the team games come into play a little bit. Can they sacrifice Charles Leclerc a touch, maybe, and put him in a spot where he just holds up Kimi Antonelli for a little while during the race, something like that, to just gain those few extra seconds for Lewis Hamilton. There's definitely some team games that can be played, but that is thinking that Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton will be side by side and they won't have George Russell to also contend with and have a problem with. And Max Verstappen clearly not in the mood to have a chat there. Interesting. They tried their best, but not there. In terms of the Drivers' Championship, I know we saw it a second ago. It's again that 43-point gap at the top of the standings. Will George Russell be able to close that in? Obviously, a first place and second place for Antonelli versus Russell here would elongate that to 50 points again. So if Antonelli wins and Russell comes in second position, it'll be a 2 Grand Prix gap, effectively, between Antonelli and Russell. And I know that we're not quite halfway through the season yet, but we are 9 out of 22 races. We're a couple of Grand Prix away from that midway point. And once you've only got 11 Grand Prix left and you've got 2 Grand Prix in your pocket, starts to be quite a positive little position that Kimi Antonelli's finding himself in. Of course, it's always better to be leading the championship, but leading the championship by such a significant amount as well. Looking like Kimi Antonelli has got all the cards stacked in his favour, effectively, especially if Ferrari are going to start causing George Russell more and more headaches. That's really helped Kimi Antonelli and will continue to really help Kimi Antonelli as well. If he's got that 2 race margin, and then when George Russell does maybe get a little bit lucky, if Hamilton and Leclerc are either there to take away points from Antonelli, you could argue it would go in Russell's favour, but you could also argue that Ferrari taking away points from George Russell also could massively help Kimi Antonelli. So it will be a race-by-race basis that we have to keep an eye on this Drivers' Championship, and by no means is it done and dusted yet. There is then a little bit of a gap to Lando Norris in 4th place. Hamilton in the title battle. I think I talked about this yesterday where I was like, if Hamilton is within 60 points of Antonelli as they go into the second half of the season, then I'll maybe believe. But at the moment, still a little bit adrift. Obviously, 4 points still behind George Russell. It's a long way to go for Kimi Antonelli and an even longer way to go for Lewis Hamilton. So definitely competitive, but whether or not it's on, give it a couple more races. Lando Norris, though, 4th. Charles Leclerc, 5th. Oscar Piastri, 6th. Nice little battle between those 3. Obviously, Norris leading by 2 points and then 1 point between Leclerc and Piastri. Feel like that could be very interesting, especially if Verstappen gets involved in that battle for 4th place. Like, they're all very close to one another. We'll see how that goes. And then we've got Isaac Hadjar in 8th spot, 42 points. Just 1 point ahead of Pierre Gasly. Lawson, 31. Behrman, Colapinto. Lindblad, Sainz, Albon, Ocon, Bortoletto, Alonso, Hulkenberg, Bottas, Perez, Stroll at this moment in time. We're about 10 minutes away, though, from the start of this Grand Prix. Get your predictions in. Gotta get them in before the Grand Prix starts. Who can you see where? I'll pop the quali board up for you. Kimi Antonelli starting on pole position. He's done a pretty good job of finishing in first place when starting on pole, hasn't he? And actually, he's got quite a lot of prestigious pole positions, has Kimi Antonelli, considering he only got his first one this season in Suzuka. He's picked up Suzuka, Monaco, Silverstone. Like, if you could basically give somebody 3 Grand Prix that you could pick out of the calendar as the most prestigious, they'd probably be up there, you know? Maybe you chuck in a Spa or a Monza, but Antonelli's doing a very good job at getting pole positions at the most exciting races or the most prestigious races on the Formula One calendar, and then is also leading the championship and leading another race going into, well, will he be leading the race going into turn 1? Should be leading the race going into turn 1, considering where he is. Charles Leclerc alongside him in second spot. It was a good qualifying from Charles Leclerc, actually. Leclerc was positive. He talked about how he's made changes thanks to Lewis Hamilton and sort of moving his setup closer to Lewis Hamilton's setup to try and keep that even between those two. But I think Ferrari, realistically, and again, it's very early in the season to do so, but they have only got one real chance at winning the championship, and it is Lewis Hamilton. As much as it would be great if it was Charles Leclerc, and would I prefer it to be Charles Leclerc? That's a difficult question that I don't really want to answer without thinking about it. But I would like to have had Charles Leclerc in the championship discussion as well, but he just isn't. He just isn't, unfortunately, for Charles. He really is too far behind, almost 100 points adrift of Kimi Antonelli at this point, and the Ferrari isn't that good compared to the Mercedes car, where I'm going to give Charles Leclerc a chance at winning the championship. So, do Ferrari start to intervene? Do Ferrari start to say, look, Charles, Hamilton is faster than you? Or give it the multi-21 and swap positions? Like, what do Ferrari do from that point? George Russell, an up and down qualify. I mean, starting 4th is certainly better than starting 22nd, which it felt like he might be when it came to yesterday, especially when he put his car in the barriers in Q1, but kept going, got a new front wing on the car and managed to put it into P4. Still just doesn't seem quite settled in that car. Nowhere near the pace of Antonelli when it came to... Actually, yesterday's sprint is a bit of a 50-50 one, because obviously we didn't get to see his clean air pace. He was spending a lot of time fighting with the McLarens, and then more so Leclerc and Verstappen. That was a lovely little trio battle that we had just behind the front three, and that therefore we didn't get to see the true sort of race pace of George Russell. Will he be able to do something a bit special? I have to wait and see. Isaac Hadjar starts in 5th place. Lando Norris in 6th place. I've not got high hopes for the McLaren boys, I'm afraid. I know I should. I'm wearing the McLaren colours as I always do, and I'm supporting them through and through. But I just haven't got the faith in them this weekend that they'll be able to do something a little bit special. I think maybe Hadjar kind of deserves it, to be fair. He got nabbed of that podium in Monaco because of the Gasly stuff. And I know that Gasly kind of deserved that podium too, but it would have been nice to see Isaac Hadjar get his first podium for Red Bull. He probably will get it at some point this season. Let's say that. I think Hadjar will get a podium at some point this year. He'll get his first one for Red Bull. Will it be today? Only if like Antonelli and Leclerc wipe each other out or something along those lines. But I don't think Hadjar and the Red Bull team got the pace right now. But yeah, Lando Norris versus Verstappen's an interesting one. Piastri just behind as well. Could be quite a little competitive battle there between the Red Bulls and the McLarens to keep an eye on too. Lindblad and Lawson just look a level above the midfield, to be honest with you. I hope Lindblad kind of outscores Lawson, to be fair. There was a lot of discussion about those two coming off of Austria, where Lindblad just sort of took team orders into his own interpretation, I think is the way. I don't think he fully ignored them as such. He more just wanted to have an opportunity at maybe trying to get in front of Liam Lawson overall, but Liam Lawson ended up finishing ahead in Austria. Lindblad might be able to get back at him this time around, finish ahead of Lawson. I think overall, though, the Racing Bulls team just need to realise that this weekend is such a good opportunity for them to score points that they don't really need to worry about anybody else. They just kind of need to consolidate finishing best of the rest, and then hoping almost that Antonelli, Leclerc, Hamilton, Russell, someone in that front pack or even in the pack of the Red Bulls and McLarens decides to have a mechanical failure or smash into one another. And then we'll get Lindblad and Lawson into even more points, and possibly some points for Bortoleto and Hulkenberg. We discussed this over on Crash Happy, like the fact that Audi only have 2 points on the board so far this season just doesn't make mathematical sense. Like, they should just have more points than that. Hulkenberg has been so unlucky. Bortoleto's had some good race weekends that have ended in P12s, P13s that just haven't quite clicked at the end. I'm hoping that we get some Bortoleto, Hulkenberg points. If there's like a big crash between two of the front runners, let's just choose Antonelli and Leclerc for the sake of it. Say Antonelli and Leclerc wipe each other out. I would like to see Lindblad, Lawson, Bortoleto and Hulkenberg all in the point scoring places. I know that they've got to kind of keep Pierre Gasly at bay. Gasly getting that 3-place grid drop, in case you missed it, for weaving in front of Oscar Piastri. So he does indeed drop to 15th place, Pierre Gasly. That promotes Hulkenberg, Behrman and Sainz. But Gasly will be able to dispatch Sainz and Behrman fairly quickly, I would imagine. then it's about whether or not the Audi team can really live with the pace of the Alpine over the course of a 52-lap race distance. We then have Albon starting in 16th place, Ocon starting in 17th, Bottas, Colapinto, Perez, Alonso, and Stroll at the back of the pack. We are a couple of minutes away. I'm trying to dry my nails, which is why I'm sort of waving my arms, by the way. Not applicable, please answer. Do I listen to Crofty's commentary when watching, or the other one? I listen to Sky Sports, but I have it on fairly low because I'm talking myself, so I don't want to sort of repeat what they say almost. Although I do read the graphics and stuff, so I'm often probably saying similar things to what they're saying because the graphics pop up for them as well as they pop up for me. Let's switch over, though, to the slightly more detailed board as we head towards a couple of minutes away from the start of the Silverstone Grand Prix. Final chance to get your predictions in the chat. Massively appreciate all of the support we've had recently. Oops. So I try and turn my volume up. Who is the GOAT? Nigel Mansell. That's a really quick, easy question that I can just knock out of the way. Any other questions? Let Mercedes do its magic. Does feel like it's going to be another Mercedes weekend. We have to wait and see, though. We have to wait and see. You mute the commentary and listen to me. There you go. High quality commentary. Better than David Croft, some would say. I don't know if that's an incredibly high bar to set, but it's the bar that Sky Sports have set. So that is the bar I'm trying to beat. Round 9 starting very soon at Silverstone. Make the sector colours of my channel. I could do that, to be fair. Usually I hide the sector colours for the race, but some people like the sector colours on there, some people don't like the sector colours on there. It's difficult to always judge. It's difficult to give everybody what they want. Ferrari podium. Oh yeah, I think Ferrari will certainly have at least one car on the podium, if not two. Here we go. Formation lap getting set up. Tyre blankets being taken off the cars. The 2-minute calls being called on the radio. 52 laps of the Grand Prix. Let's see if we can get the likes up on this stream. In fact, shall I set a little bit of a like target? I forgot to look how many likes we got last time around. Let me have a little look. Live posts. Austria. I can't even see it. Wow, it doesn't show likes anymore on YouTube on the main page. All right, let's go in. Let's go in. See how many likes we got. We got on the Belgium Grand Prix, we got 302 likes. So that is the goal, therefore. We are looking at 300 likes or more on this stream for it to overtake Austria. And I think 500 is the maximum that we've had so far this season. So hit that like button completely and utterly for free. That is your goal for this weekend. And also, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. We're live every single Grand Prix weekend for every competitive session. So we were live for sprint qualifying, sprint race qualifying, and the Grand Prix over the course of this weekend. We will also be live for qualifying and the Grand Prix in Belgium and Hungary before the summer break. And then during the summer break, lots of content coming your way anyway. So you should just be subscribed to the channel. It is the place to be. You think Leclerc overtakes Antonelli on lap 1? Okay, I like it. I'd like to see it. It would certainly spice up the championship a little bit if Kimi Antonelli were to have a little bit of a drab race and maybe get overtaken by the likes of Hamilton and Russell. Maybe even have to have a fight with Charles Leclerc. Maybe that ends with Charles Leclerc and Kimi Antonelli in the barriers. We'll have to wait and see. We are almost there. Final red light about to drop as we tick over to 3 o'clock. And Kimi Antonelli is going to get us underway for this formation lap. In fact, I think my stream might be a little bit behind. Let me reset it. There we go. Antonelli, Leclerc, Hamilton just making their way down towards turn 6 now. Hamilton weaving across the track to get tyre temperature ready. Be interesting to see what the teams decide in terms of strategy. Everybody starting on a fresh set of medium tyres. Nobody going for any kind of differential in terms of strategy to begin with. So clearly the medium tyre calculated as the best tyre to start the race on. And everybody deciding that's the way they're going to go. Be interesting to see if anybody decides to do something different, if there's a safety car or a virtual safety car, and how they align with one another when it comes to that kind of thing. But let's see. Antonelli just closing the pack a little bit as they make their way through Maggots and Beckett's. And here we go then. Oh, there's a lot of celebrities at the Silverstone Grand Prix. It is the highest attended Grand Prix on the entire Formula One calendar. The attendance this weekend, 564,000, which is a record attendance. Last year, it was just over 500,000. Another 64,000 fans have made their way to the Formula One event in Silverstone this year. It does just get bigger and bigger every single season at Silverstone. And we are looking at the highlight of the weekend just about to begin. Antonelli makes his way around the final corner. And in fact, I'm going to just slightly change. There we go. Oh, as Fernando Alonso has come to a stop. And that is an Aston Martin car that has got going once again. Goodness me. Almost an end of Grand Prix for Fernando Alonso, literally just before it started. But Fernando Alonso is now running around the final sector. Be interesting to see whether or not he peels into the pits or if the Aston Martin team decide to get him onto the grid with everybody else. I imagine they're asking Lance Stroll to just take it a little bit easy so that Alonso can catch back up. No, he comes back into the pits. Alonso will not be starting on the grid then. Something a little bit awry for Fernando Alonso. That means Lance Stroll still takes his spot at the back of the pack. The green flag is waved. The blue panels illuminate for the cars to get their turbos running. And we have 5 red lights between us and the start of the British Grand Prix. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's lights out. And Kimi Antonelli does come across to try and defend from Charles Leclerc, but Leclerc uses the Ferrari starts and is electric off the beginning, and Kimi Antonelli has dropped 2 places. Charles Leclerc is into first place and Lewis Hamilton up into second. George Russell has held on to 4th place for now, but is fighting hard with Isaac Hadjar. Hadjar trying to sneak up the inside, not able to do so this time around though. Russell holds on to 4th place for now. Hadjar 5th. Verstappen up into 6th place. It's a poor start for Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, both of the McLarens losing positions. Piastri's now behind Arvid Lindblad, and Liam Lawson is about to jump in front as well. Oh, there's a crash. Towards the end, down in towards turn 6. I couldn't quite see it. It looked like a Haas, possibly Ollie Behrman. And it feels like it is Alex Albon as well in and involved in that crash. It was indeed Behrman and Albon who slid into one another. They are both running still. Possibly another car involved in that collision as well. I think Fernando Alonso amongst it. But Charles Leclerc leads this Grand Prix as we head into the final sector of the first lap. It's Leclerc from Hamilton. Antonelli's down 2 positions in 3rd. Russell's maintained 4th. And Piastri thinks he has damage on the radio. He's up in 9th place at the moment. But Lindblad now making his way past Piastri, and Piastri actually falling like a stone. Carlos Sainz comes past Piastri as well. Ocon and Gasly fighting for position behind. But Piastri might have to peel into the pits here, and it looks like it's going to be done and dusted for Piastri before it's even really started. No, continues on. So whatever damage Piastri has got, I mean, it is making him drive very, very slowly. He loses position to Pierre Gasly and Gabriel Bortoleto now as well. Tell you what, the Audis really lost out at the start of this Grand Prix. Hülkenberg and Bortoleto dropped behind Sainz and Ocon. Ocon, absolutely electric start from 17th place. He got his Haas up into 11th position already. He's up 6 positions. And Oscar Piastri is now falling backwards even more so. Alex Albon looks to have pretty heavy damage on his Williams car as well. He's just limped his Williams car back into the pits. And George Russell trying to defend from Isaac Hadjar more so than anybody else. Oscar Piastri finally being given the go-ahead to come into the pits and possibly have to change the wing on that car. Yellow flags, though, being waved and then taken away. Brief yellow flag, possibly, for someone going a little bit awry. I think it was, Nico Hülkenberg just made a mistake in his Audi car. He's now down in 20th place, Nico Hülkenberg. He's dropped 8 positions since the start of the Grand Prix. That is very, very disappointing for the Audi duo. Gabriel Bortoleto still in 12th, though. Possibility of Audi points still there as Bortoleto now making a move on Esteban Ocon and gets past Esteban Ocon. Up into 11th position goes Gabriel Bortoleto. 1 place away from points. Carlos Sainz currently sitting there. Alex Albon has pitted and continued on, by the way. Alex Albon about to be lapped by Charles Leclerc by the looks of things. Leclerc and Hamilton actually making their way through the first sector. Alex Albon just coming down towards turn 6. And Antonelli and Russell fighting around. Max Verstappen being given the go-ahead to go past Isaac Hadjar. And I think Hadjar giving the position to his teammate maybe, or quite possibly not. Hadjar trying to come back at Max Verstappen down towards turn 6, but Verstappen has the position for now. So Verstappen up into 5th place. Hadjar down to 6th. Norris is down in 7th now. And Oscar Piastri has made his way back to the pits. It is a swap of front wing for Oscar Piastri. And it feels like they will send him back out again. They will indeed. But that's put Oscar Piastri down in 21st place and a considerable distance behind the rest of the pack. George Russell is the one that is losing out most in this battle out front, though. You've got Charles Leclerc leading. Hamilton just 0.8 behind, so will get the boost. Antonelli 0.6 behind, so also looking at a boost available to him. George Russell is already 1.7 seconds behind his teammate. George Russell outside of boost range. Max Verstappen and Isaac Hadjar still squabbling over 5th place, but it doesn't feel like they're really going to tempt or get themselves into that top 4 and tempt fate by fighting too hard with one another. Lando Norris is just behind, keeping an eye on the 2 Red Bulls and is within striking distance of Isaac Hadjar. Lawson and Lindblad still running best of the rest of the midfield. They've actually inherited 8th and 9th place now. Lawson getting the better of Lindblad at the start. Lindblad still in 9th, but Lawson up 2 places into 8th. Carlos Sainz running in the final points scoring position. And it's very tight with all of the cars really. And Antonelli has just fallen to 0.9 behind. I think Ferrari desperately need to try and escape away from Antonelli if possible, but Antonelli holding on to the back of the Scuderia cars. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton leading this Grand Prix for Ferrari. Antonelli's down in 3rd. Russell is in 4th. And I'll tell you what, Russell is really struggling, falling another few tenths of a second. You look at the last lap from George Russell, a 1:34.7. That is 7 tenths of a second slower than Kimi Antonelli and Lewis Hamilton ahead. 7 tenths a lap at the moment George Russell is losing. Unless he's trying to fall backwards to find a little bit of clean air, that is horrendous pace from George Russell if he's thinking about possibly going on to win this Grand Prix. Here they come back around again. Antonelli a 1:34.3. That's a little bit more like it from George Russell, but still a couple of tenths shy of where his teammate is. And Lewis Hamilton is now outside of boost range. Hamilton is more than a second adrift of Charles Leclerc. If it stays that way, it means Antonelli will have the additional boost where Lewis Hamilton will not. Antonelli, though, is 1.04 seconds behind. Antonelli will have the boost this lap, needs to close into the back of Hamilton by just under a tenth if he wants to get the boost available to him once again next lap. But I'll tell you what, the Ferraris are looking very solid in terms of race pace all of a sudden. We know that last time yesterday during the sprint race, it got to about lap 10, and then the Ferrari started to fall behind, and that's when Antonelli was able to strike. So still 48 laps left of this Grand Prix, and still a long time to go. Here we are. Let's have a little look at this start from Charles Leclerc. Just Ferrari excellent off the line as they have been so far this year. Lewis Hamilton doing the same. A little bit bogged down. Antonelli just didn't quite get the start correct and ends up losing 2 positions to both Ferrari cars. George Russell then having to fight with Isaac Hadjar for position. Got the better of Isaac Hadjar. Hadjar now down in 6th place, but George Russell still struggling to hold on to the back of the front 3. Verstappen, Hadjar, Norris keeping themselves in a little trio. And actually, it's a really, really bad start by Lando Norris. And actually, oh my goodness, yeah, really tricky. Albon actually wipes out Ollie Behrman as they go down towards turn 6. Not really much that Ollie Behrman could do there. Albon just smashes into him. And he just completely locked up. And Oscar Piastri also picked up a huge amount of damage on the front wing, did Oscar Piastri. And Piastri down in 21st position for now. Let's have a little look at the gaps then. Lewis Hamilton 1.7 seconds adrift and Antonelli within a second. So Antonelli is now going to start getting boost where Lewis Hamilton is not. 10-second time penalty given to Alex Albon for that collision with Ollie Behrman. Behrman down in 17th place because of it. Bortoleto has been able to get the better of Carlos Sainz whilst we've been looking at the leaders. Bortoleto now up into the point scoring place. He's in 10th. I'll tell you what, Lawson and Lindblad, though, disappearing away from the midfield pack. The gap between Lindblad and Bortoleto already 4.5 seconds. So looking very unlikely that the Racing Bulls are going to lose out in any place here. Lawson and Lindblad looking like a best of the rest finish for Racing Bulls. And if anything, they'll just be hoping that some of the top teams have a little bit more worse luck like Oscar Piastri's got, so they can get some more points on the board. They're trying to catch up to Alpine in the constructor standings, although to be fair, if Gasly jumps up into the top 10, then he will be able to get some points on the board for Alpine as well. So Racing Bulls keeping it tight in 8th and 9th place. Here is our front 3 once again then. Leclerc 2.2 seconds ahead now of Lewis Hamilton. Antonelli 0.6 seconds behind Hamilton. And it's going to be, 3 or 4 more laps time is around when Antonelli was able to strike and get the better of Lewis Hamilton in the sprint race yesterday. Are Ferrari going to try something a little bit different as Pierre Gasly has a little look at Carlos Sainz and isn't able to do it this time around. Sainz holds on to 11th place. Gasly, though, desperate to get in front of the Williams and maybe fight for that final point scoring position with Gabriel Bortoleto. He's doing it all on his own for Audi now as Nico Hülkenberg has fallen all the way down to 18th after a pretty dismal start for the German. Hamilton under investigation, moving before signal. That is not good news for the Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari fans out there. Moving before the signal usually is pretty slam dunk. Let's see what happens and comes from that. Lewis Hamilton with a 5-second penalty would be very interesting indeed. And I think that penalty has now come through. It has indeed. Lewis Hamilton picks up a 5-second time penalty for a false start. He moved before the lights went out. As I said, it's pretty slam dunk for Lewis Hamilton. There's not much he can really argue about there. Does bring Antonelli and Russell into contention, though. Russell is 2.5 seconds adrift of his teammate Antonelli half a second adrift. So Russell currently 3 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, is within that 5-second margin. Still a long way to go, though, and Ferrari will have the advantage of having both cars in first and second place. They can do something a little bit spectacular. Ooh. It was the tiniest little move from Lewis Hamilton. To be fair, when the lights went out, he wasn't moving. Like, he just sort of jolts forward and then realizes what he's done. So he almost starts twice, does Lewis Hamilton. But it is a penalty. It's one of those that if you do, there's not really much you can do about it. It's a bit like speeding in the pit lane or something. It's just an easy line to be drawn. And Antonelli now right underneath the rear wing of the Ferrari. As I say, we look back to the sprint yesterday. This is where Antonelli started to put the pressure on Hamilton. And the swap for the lead during that sprint was around about now. Charles Leclerc's done really well, actually, to just get himself that couple of seconds margin to Hamilton behind. Hamilton holding up Antonelli. It's looking very, very good for Charles Leclerc in and amongst this. With his teammate with a 5-second penalty and his teammate holding up Kimi Antonelli at the moment. Hamilton nearly 3 seconds adrift of the Monegasque driver. George Russell's also then about 3 seconds behind his teammate, which is not where you want to be if you're George Russell thinking about fighting for a championship. Max Verstappen is actually 1.3 seconds behind Russell. It's then 1.7 seconds to Hadjar, 1.6 seconds to Norris. Everybody's sort of slotting into a second and a half or so behind their closest competitor. Carlos Sainz, though, not getting that memo, trying to get back at Pierre Gasly, who was able to dispatch the Williams car. Gasly finds himself 4.5 seconds adrift of Gabriel Bortoleto, and 4.5 seconds away from a point scoring position in the Alpine. Will it be Bortoleto? Will it be Gasly? As I say, still a few pit stops to go yet, and this race could certainly go various different directions from here. But Antonelli closing in on Lewis Hamilton. And I kind of predicted this. I sort of said if the Ferraris do get in front of Antonelli, wait until around 10 laps in, because that's what we saw in the sprint race yesterday, and it does feel like history slightly repeating itself as George Russell comes on the radio and is complaining about the gear shifts. The gearbox not quite doing the business for George Russell. Hamilton penalty, yes indeed. 5-second penalty given to Lewis Hamilton for a false start. So Antonelli trying to get track position, but knows he does effectively have that track place over Lewis Hamilton. 5 seconds added to Lewis Hamilton's time, but obviously they'll serve it in the pit stops. So they will have to stop. The Ferrari car will come to a stop in the pits, and the team will not be able to touch the car for 5 seconds. Then they will be able to start the pit stop as they normally do. George Russell being told we have no concerns on the gearbox. So George Russell complaining about downshifts not feeling quite right and Mercedes not able to see it on their side. That's never a good sign if you're a driver and your team is telling you that you're kind of feeling something that doesn't really exist, because he'll just be shouting back at them on the radio like, no, I can feel something. There is a problem. They will. But he can still see his teammate George Russell. He's 2.7 seconds adrift. He's in the picture there as we see Antonelli run down towards turn 15. Antonelli, though, trying to get past Lewis Hamilton. And this was the lap he was able to do it in the sprint race, wasn't it? Lap 11 of this Grand Prix. Let's see if Antonelli is within striking distance of Lewis Hamilton. 0.3 seconds behind and closing in ever more so as we come through this first sector. Antonelli smells blood a little bit here, it feels like, at the Ferrari team. Closing into the back of Lewis Hamilton. Will he go for a move into turn 6? Hamilton is moving across to defend. And Kimi Antonelli does have a little bit of a look. Hamilton trying to break the toe. Does just enough. And Kimi Antonelli slots in behind for now. But it's getting very close between the two. Antonelli will be looking at the 4-second gap that Charles Leclerc now has out front and thinking that he wants to get involved in that. And he's going to go for it now. Is Antonelli down towards turn 9 and he gets the move done. Moves to the right-hand side of the track. Hamilton tries to come across the cover, but he's got the inside line and Antonelli runs through turn 9 and ahead as he goes into turn 10, 11 and 12. History repeating itself. Antonelli back ahead of Lewis Hamilton at this point once again. Did it in the sprint race yesterday around lap 10, lap 11. Now does it once more in the Grand Prix. Antonelli now has a little bit of clean air in front of him. Charles Leclerc will have been holding onto his tyres a touch and running in the clean air at the front of the pack. Charles Leclerc, though, 4.2 seconds the gap. Can Antonelli close that to Charles Leclerc? Was 0.4 of a second quicker, despite also overtaking Lewis Hamilton in that last lap, Kimi Antonelli. So it is now closing in within 4 seconds of Charles Leclerc. Needs to, of course, be careful that Lewis Hamilton doesn't try and come back past him here. Kimi Antonelli will get the boost, but Hamilton's tyres just don't feel like they've got the life of the Mercedes. And it does feel like the Mercedes race pace in particular this weekend is a level above the rest. Max Verstappen on the radio. Downshifts are bad for Max Verstappen also. So downshifts are bad for Verstappen. Downshifts are bad for George Russell. And they're fighting for 4th place. Let's see whose downshifts are really the worst out of those two. Because they are going to be fighting for position fairly soon. Max Verstappen getting himself within that boost range once again. Isaac Hadjar's fallen away from those two, though. Hadjar down in 6th place, 3.6 seconds off Max Verstappen. Lando Norris then another second behind, although could be worse. He could be his teammate. Oscar Piastri's down in 21st place and still 11.6 seconds off the back of Fernando Alonso's Aston Martin. We then have Lawson in 8th position. Lindblad in 9th. Both of those racing balls looking a level above the rest of the midfield. Continuing on, although Lawson is 10 seconds behind Lando Norris. There's still a definite gap between the sort of top 4 teams and the midfield pack. But it does feel like racing balls this weekend are a level above the rest of the midfield. Gasly has actually fallen a little bit further away from Gabriel Bortoleto in 10th. Bortoleto holding on to that 10th place position and final point scoring position for the Audi team would be his 3rd point of the season, Gabriel Bortoleto. And then Gasly and Colapinto now there. So the Alpine clearly does have the pace. Colapinto's been able to scythe his way through the midfield despite going out in Q1 yesterday after a little bit of a freak spin for the Argentine, has to be said, in Q1. He's managed to make his way through. He's in 12th place. He's 3 seconds off the back of Gasly. But if things go wrong for the teams in the top 10 at the moment, Gasly and Colapinto in the Alpine cars are the next best competitors, and they'll be there to pick up the pieces. Ocon, Hulkenberg, Perez, Behrman, Bottas, Stroll and Alonso kind of making their way out. Well, actually, there's a big gap between Bottas, Stroll and Alonso and the rest of the field. And then Piastri, another chunk backwards. Alex Albon is still running, but he has just been lapped by the Racing Bulls cars. So Albon collecting Ollie Behrman down towards turn 6 on lap 1. Big damage clearly on that Williams car. Had to come in, change a few bits and pieces. They decided to come back out again, but it has become a little bit of a testing run really for the Williams team. Antonelli. Let's have a little look at his lap times. Tell you what, Antonelli's still 4.5 seconds adrift, and Charles Leclerc is lapping exceptionally well. So Charles Leclerc doing the business for Ferrari this weekend. Those changes that have been made to the Ferrari car clearly working for Charles Leclerc this weekend. He is flying out front. Charles Leclerc's got a nice little gap. Looking at Lewis Hamilton's 5-second penalty as well. Unfortunately for Hamilton, that is going to mean he likely comes out behind Russell and Verstappen once the penalties are applied and pit stops are complete. So then Hamilton's going to have to deal with Verstappen and Russell, which is just a horrible duo to have to try and get back past to get back into the podium places. Isaac Hadjar now under pressure from Lando Norris, and maybe the Mercedes engine just a little bit better set up for race pace. Holding onto those tyres a little bit more functionally. Because Norris now closing in on the back of Isaac Hadjar as we get to lap 14 here. 39 laps left to go. It's starting to get towards the point where drivers might think about pitting if they're going for the two-stop strategy. Start to see the medium tyres graining a little bit as the cars come through the final sector. You can just see the onboard of George Russell there, and the tyres starting to look a little bit out there. Piastri even saying that his front left doesn't look great in the graining, and Piastri's already pitted and on the hard compound tyre, so just going to show that everybody is going to start struggling. Feel like most people kind of continue. It depends though. If you go for the two-stop strategy, it might be worthwhile. We're seeing quite a lot of graining, and the one-stop strategy, though, you'd probably want to stay out for another 10 laps or so. So we'll see if anybody decides to go for it. Literally everyone starting on a fresh set of medium tyres at the beginning of this race. Piastri and Albon, the drivers to have pitted so far, but they wouldn't have wanted to. They have pitted because they picked up damage. Piastri running in 21st place, Albon 22nd. And Max Verstappen continuing on to close that gap to George Russell is still within a second. And Arvid Lindblad actually on the radio asking Liam Lawson to hurry up a little bit. They have got a 4-second gap to Bortoletto behind, but Lindblad clearly frustrated by Lawson's pace so far. And I'll tell you what, the Red Bull mechanics just making a little bit of a move in the Red Bull garage. Do they go for the two-stop strategy, or do they just continue on? Doesn't look like they're continuing on for now. Verstappen and Hadjar have both made their way onto the next lap of the Grand Prix. Oh, and Alex Albon, the Williams team, seeing him come into the pit lane once again. Is that going to be the end of Alex Albon's British Grand Prix weekend? I think so. Albon into the pits once more. Maybe serving that penalty, do another lap, and then retire from the Grand Prix, because has got that penalty looming over his head. Of course, has to deal with that penalty before next week's Grand Prix. Albon still stationary in the pits, though, so making a few changes to that Williams car, but they have sent him back out again. So there we go. Lando Norris putting Isaac Hadjar under pressure. Max Verstappen putting Russell under pressure. Starting to see, well, one Red Bull trying to make moves forwards and the other Red Bull defending 6th place. George Russell versus Max Verstappen could be a tasty little battle over the next few laps, especially if Max Verstappen's been able to hold on to those medium tyres just a touch better than the Mercedes. Be impressed, though. The Mercedes, very good on their tyre. Well, Kimi Antonelli, very good on his tyres so far this weekend in the sprint race. But maybe George Russell not quite able to do so. And Max Verstappen, as soon as he's within half a second of you, you've got to be a little bit concerned. And George Russell will see the Red Bull very close in those wing mirrors as they make their way through the first sector. And in fact, Verstappen taking a slightly different line through turn 4. Is he going to try and swing it through turn 5 to get the run at Russell down towards turn 6? He might do so. Has a little look at the Mercedes car. Nothing doing for Verstappen this time around. As I say, though, Lewis Hamilton, once he pits and serves his penalty, because of that additional 5 seconds, Hamilton will come out behind Russell and Verstappen as it stands. So if you're a Ferrari fan and a Hamilton fan, this will actually do you a bit of a favour. Although George Russell can't defend at all, as Max Verstappen goes past and into turn 9 and is now ahead on lap 17 of this Grand Prix. It was a really tidy move from Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, though, will have used his boost there to get past George Russell, as Russell got enough energy to come back at him. On the back straight, here he comes, looks to the inside. Max Verstappen shuffles across, and that was very close to wiping out the front wing of George Russell, but the defensive maneuver, and Verstappen box anyway. So that battle does not continue. Max Verstappen pitting a little bit early there. Overtakes and then pits. It's classic Max Verstappen. He does what he likes. Goes for the overtake, gets it done. Slots in and then pits. Just wants to show that little bit of dominance, does Max Verstappen. It's hard compound tyres going onto the Red Bull car. Should come out still ahead of Liam Lawson. Just trying to track where Lawson is. Yeah, he is going to come out ahead of Liam Lawson. And to be fair, the Racing Bulls probably wouldn't hold up Max Verstappen too much. I know that they're separate teams and they're fighting for things and so on and so forth. But they're not really fighting with Max Verstappen in this Grand Prix. Verstappen pits. He's out. He's got a lovely 11 seconds of road to run into. If he can get those hard compound tyres up to temperature, start putting in some fast laps, could be on for a very nice undercut. Although it has pitted quite early, Max. So needs to get some really good lap times in if he's going to make up the 20 or so seconds that he's going to lose from a second pit stop, which is likely. Like, could go to the end on these hard compound tyres. It'd be quite the ask, though, for Max Verstappen. 30 seconds off the lead he currently finds himself. I'll tell you what, Charles Leclerc has done a brilliant job out front. I thought Kimi Antonelli might be able to close the gap to the Scuderia car, but Charles Leclerc has been absolutely flying. He's led every single lap of the Grand Prix so far, got himself up into P1 off the start, and has made it look fairly comfortable. Obviously, the pit stops will come and things will play against him, I'm sure, but absolutely flying is Charles Leclerc. Kimi Antonelli, 4.2 seconds adrift, and the Italian driver not able to close that gap. Hamilton now 5 seconds off the front two, which is a pretty damning indictment, considering he's also got that 5-second penalty to come. George Russell still within 5 seconds of Hamilton. Okay. It's going to be interesting to see what Max Verstappen does here. I'm keeping an eye on his lap times. I'd like to see a full lap without a pit stop involved. Obviously, a 1:53.8 from him last time around is not actually representative of his lap times. Verstappen through the first sector. Tell you what, Verstappen through the first sector is actually only a 1/10 of a second quicker than Antonelli and only 0.2 of a second quicker than Charles Leclerc. So it's not blistering speed from Max Verstappen. If we compare it to more so the drivers that he's racing, George Russell was 0.4 of a second slower through the first sector. Hadjar 0.2 of a second slower than Verstappen through the first sector. So Verstappen is going quicker than those guys around him. He'll be more so keeping an eye on George Russell. Does Russell then come in to cover off? He does not, but Isaac Hadjar does. So Hadjar into the pits, maybe also thinking he'll come out behind his teammate, but in the gap between Verstappen and Lawson. Red Bull clearly eyeing that gap. Isaac Hadjar in. It's a little bit of a slower stop from Red Bull. 4.3 seconds. I think it was that rear right tyre for Isaac Hadjar. That could cost him, actually, because now Lawson and Lindblad are making their way by. And that slow stop for Isaac Hadjar is going to put him behind the Racing Bulls. And here comes Gabriel Bortoleto, and actually he's going to be side by side with Gabby. And Hadjar is going to lose out to the Audi for a moment. Should come back past him with the fresher tyres and, let's face it, the faster car. But Hadjar is now behind Gabriel Bortoleto, and it's not where you want to be. Oh, he really needed a better stop, did Isaac Hadjar. He's going to try and go up the inside of Gabriel Bortoleto, but Bortoleto is going to close the door on the Red Bull. And this is costing Isaac Hadjar pretty substantially here. McLaren will be thinking about what they can do to cover off Max Verstappen and now Isaac Hadjar as well. Hadjar is past Gabriel Bortoleto as they go into turn 9. Up to 9th place for now in the Red Bull, but that slow stop and now that little bit of a half a lap behind Gabriel Bortoleto is not going to be what Isaac Hadjar was really hoping for. Antonelli is now finding that little bit of extra pace that we were expecting from him. 20 laps on the medium tyres for both Leclerc and Antonelli, and Antonelli 0.3 of a second quicker than Leclerc last time around, is now within 4 seconds of Leclerc once again. That gap was 4.5 seconds a couple of laps ago. Antonelli looking for another win this season. Hamilton looks a mile adrift now. He's 5 seconds back from Kimi Antonelli, nearly 10 seconds adrift of his teammate Charles Leclerc, who's running at the front of this race. Then George Russell is another 4 seconds back from that still. So it's not looking super competitive between Charles Leclerc and Kimi Antonelli. Those two should have kind of a run at one another for those top 2 positions. Hamilton should... Oh, well, actually, he's got that 5-second penalty, hasn't he, Lewis Hamilton? That 5-second penalty will still slot in behind George Russell as it stands. Carlos Sainz decides to pit for Williams at this point as well. So we have seen Lance Stroll come in. Hulkenberg's come in recently as well. Hadjar and Verstappen, the big names to have already pitted and be on that hard compound tyre for now. We are now getting towards the point where I imagine we'll see the majority of those drivers in that pack at the front start to think about pitting for that one-stop strategy. The mediums onto the hards. I would go around lap 25. You're about halfway through the Grand Prix. You can use the hards just that little bit longer. Verstappen, Hadjar going early. And tell you what, Verstappen's lap times have been pretty comparable to Charles Leclerc and Kimi Antonelli, but a touch quicker than George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, and that's who Max Verstappen is really fighting with at this point. You see Lewis Hamilton at 134.8, Verstappen at 134.1, and could be a little bit of a tactical decision. And the virtual safety car is out. Virtual safety car has been deployed. There is an umbrella on the track. Will anybody get the chance to pit under the virtual safety car? Ooh, that's... I mean, it is ending now. Esteban Ocon did come into the pits, but won't get the real benefit of pitting under the virtual safety car. I thought that the pit lane was going to be very, very busy there. A massive, massive sigh of relief if you're a Max Verstappen fan, because they pitted under full racing conditions. Then everybody else would have likely pitted under that virtual safety car had it lasted just a little while longer. There's an umbrella that ran out onto the track. And George Russell continuing on. Just trying to hold himself within 5 seconds of Lewis Hamilton, but is falling away pretty dramatically. It's 4.9 seconds adrift, George Russell. So that 5-second penalty actually puts Lewis Hamilton right on top of him. And Lewis Hamilton, car just won't turn. So much understeer, it's crazy. And the tyres are starting to fall away from Lewis Hamilton as well, as we're now seeing Isaac Hadjar has caught up to the back of Arvid Lindblad, and Lindblad not making it easy for the Frenchman. Isaac Hadjar tries to have a little look up the inside, but Lindblad nothing giving this time around. They come down towards turn 1 together again. Hadjar on a completely different strategy to Lindblad on the hard compound tyres already. Isaac Hadjar so just really doesn't want to be held up for too long behind these cars that have yet to have pitted. Colapinto comes in for Alpine. Ollie Behrman continues for the Haas team. Carlos Sainz and Hulkenberg also make their way past the pits, having already stopped for hard compound tyres. And Isaac Hadjar still can't get past Arvid Lindblad, even down towards turn 6. Thought it would be the opportunity to do so. Surely into turn 9, he'll have the extra grip on those fresher tyres and will be able to have a run at Lindblad. Does indeed. Moves to the inside part of the track and then gets the job done. Hajar now ahead of Lindblad. Hamilton is being given the box on the radio. And he is in. Hamilton is in. He is going to have to serve that 5-second penalty, Lewis Hamilton. So they cannot touch the car for 5 seconds. They get a little flash. And then they know that they can go. They do indeed. George Russell pits at the exact same time. And that 5-second penalty has put Hamilton just behind George Russell. It was going to be right on top of one another. Mercedes deciding to pit at just the same time. And Hamilton now comes out behind George Russell. Ooh. Let's see what Hamilton can do from there then. Hamilton really needs to get past George Russell if he's in any kind of contention for the win in this Grand Prix. Outlap critical. He's being told over the radio as Lewis Hamilton as he comes down towards turn 6. And unfortunately, that outlap is going to be stuck behind George Russell. Russell now on the same tyres as Lewis Hamilton exactly. Both pitted onto the hard compound tyre. Fresh set of hard compound tyres for both. And that 5-second penalty. Ooh, okay. Max Verstappen's come out pretty well in this. Obviously got the undercut. 6 laps worth of undercut from Max Verstappen. So he's now 6 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton in 6th place. He's 5 seconds ahead of George Russell. That's scuppered Lewis Hamilton any kind of a podium, it feels like, at this point, unless he can find some really solid pace. Although George Russell has just set the fastest middle sector of anybody so far this afternoon. Leclerc, Antonelli, Norris ahead, yet to have pitted though. Charles Leclerc, if he does pit, should come out still just ahead of Lando Norris. Actually going to be quite tight. Needs to be a good stop from the Ferrari team. Charles Leclerc currently having to deal with back markers. Albon and Bottas ahead of him. And Antonelli has just made his way past Perez and Ocon. So the traffic's starting to be a bit of a problem for the front runners. Charles Leclerc surely is going to pit soon though. Antonelli maybe wanting a tyre offset. I feel like Antonelli would go for the undercut, but hasn't gone for it. Charles Leclerc is going to box. Does Antonelli decide to do it and cover him off? Max Verstappen continues on in 4th place. George Russell's actually closed in a little bit there to 4.2 seconds behind, and Hamilton is 0.7 behind. Charles Leclerc comes into the pits. Unfortunately, he's following Alex Albon into the pits, so Alex Albon, obviously, they're all going to be at pit limiters. Not like Alex Albon's holding up Charles Leclerc, but it's just a little bit awkward to deal with the Williams car in front of you. In comes Charles Leclerc. Antonelli did continue on, by the way. So Antonelli is now looking for maybe a little bit of a tyre delta to Charles Leclerc. Has released Kimi Antonelli back into the lead of the race. Of course, was on pole. But halfway through this Grand Prix, it is still Charles Leclerc that is effectively leading, as Antonelli yet to have stopped. And actually, Charles Leclerc does come out a chunk of time ahead of Lando Norris. A really solid stop from the Ferrari team. Comes out in 2nd place. Lando Norris yet to have stopped. It's looking like a guaranteed at least 2nd from Charles Leclerc. But he'll be eyeing that victory. And Kimi Antonelli, the only driver looking like he can really take it away from him. Antonelli gets past Valtteri Bottas. Let's have a little look at Antonelli's lap times compared to Leclerc. Depending on how long Antonelli stays out, we might get Antonelli pit in this one. Those medium tyres, just that little bit of graining you can see as the onboard from Kimi Antonelli's perspective. That front right tyre just looking that little bit worse for wear. Hamilton now putting his old teammate George Russell under a lot of pressure. Hamilton closing into the back of George Russell, is within boost range. And Hamilton on the radio, fighting for P6. And we are fighting for the podium, says the Ferrari engineer to Lewis Hamilton. So they think that P3 is still on, despite the 5-second penalty for Lewis Hamilton, and just, let's face it, the lack of pace compared to Antonelli and Leclerc. Hamilton has come out a fair distance away from the lead of this Grand Prix, 30 seconds off Kimi Antonelli. Of course, Antonelli yet to have pitted, but it's a good 15 seconds away from Charles Leclerc too. Gasly fighting with Nico Hülkenberg and Ollie Behrman, and that midfield pack. It's still Lawson, Lindblad, Bortoletto who are inside of the point scoring places. Colapinto's done a decent job to get himself into 11th place. Colapinto's pitted as well. He's ahead of his teammate. Colapinto outdoing Pierre Gasly in this one so far. And Bortoletto does finally pit then. So Bortoletto, the first to pit from the midfield cars inside of the point scoring places. Lawson and Lindblad just realizing that they can let everybody else pit behind them. And Kimi Antonelli on the radio. Don't let other people undercut me. I think Kimi Antonelli doesn't quite realize how much of a gap he and Charles Leclerc had at the front of this Grand Prix. They are definitely not going to get undercut, Kimi Antonelli here. Charles Leclerc's lap times about to come through. Antonelli with a 1:33.6 last lap. Charles Leclerc is 15.5 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli and was 0.7 of a second quicker on that last lap. So Charles Leclerc finding 0.7 of a second to Kimi Antonelli just means for every 0.7 that Charles Leclerc finds now, Kimi Antonelli effectively has to find even more than that. Like, Kimi Antonelli's going to have to come out and be like a second a lap quicker, really, to properly offset what he's losing here. Because he's going to fall behind. What is the gap? 15 seconds. So Antonelli pits. Going to be about 5-6 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. Arvid Lindblad finally pits for the Racing Bulls team. He's actually going to get a little bit of an undercut for Liam Lawson. So Lindblad getting the opportunity to box first to cover off Gabriel Bortoletto. Bortoletto only just making his way around turn 18, and Lindblad has been released. So looking good for the Racing Bulls team once more. Lindblad's going to come out ahead of Gabriel Bortoletto. Wasn't undercut by the Audi car, and now has a lap fresher tyres as well. Very nice from Arvid Lindblad, despite a little bit of a slow stop for Lindblad as well. They've done well there. Just needs to hold off Gabriel Bortoletto as he gets those tyres back up to temperature. Colapinto will be hoping that they just wipe one another out. He's down in 11th place for Alpine. Pierre Gasly has finally been able to deal with Nico Hülkenberg and Ollie Behrman, and Gasly's up into 12th place once more. Antonelli continues on though. Interesting. Verstappen is now under pressure from Russell and Hamilton, and this is a lovely little trio that we could see fighting for position. Lando Norris finally pits. Lando Norris going to come out a considerable distance behind the rest of that pack ahead. Just keeping an eye on Isaac Hadjar for where Lando Norris is. I think Lando Norris is going to come out pretty much alongside Isaac Hadjar here. It's going to be very close between the McLaren and the Red Bull. And Hadjar just sneaks ahead. Okay. Isaac Hadjar is just ahead of Lando Norris, but Lando Norris does have a 9-lap tyre delta in his favour. Come on, Lando. 6th place is doable. And here we go. Max Verstappen is under pressure from George Russell, and Russell under pressure from Hamilton. Russell has a little look at... Oh my God, and Hamilton tries to go around the outside of Russell, and Russell has to concede the position for now, but Russell still alongside Lewis Hamilton as they go through the S's. Oh my goodness, is wheel to wheel through turn 12. And Lewis Hamilton just about gets that move done. George Russell was not letting it go, and George Russell comes back at him. George Russell, as they come out of turn 14, just gets the run out of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton may be caught sleeping there. George Russell using an extra bit of boost, and George Russell gets back ahead. Ooh. I mean, it's good, looking good for Max Verstappen in all of this, because Russell and Hamilton costing each other lap time. George Russell, wow, that was very, very solid from George Russell. Got right up alongside Lewis Hamilton as they made their way through turn 9, 10, 11, and 12. Then just waited for that opportunity, launched himself out of turn 14, got the move done. He's back up into 4th place. Hamilton slots into 5th once again. But that final podium place is up for grabs. Verstappen, Russell, and Hamilton fighting for it. Can Hamilton have a go at George Russell this time around? Just going to try and close the gap into turn 6, you would imagine, then follow George Russell through the first part of this middle sector. And it's the slingshot out of turn 8 that he's looking for to have a real run at George Russell once again down towards turn 9. Is he going to try and make a maneuver? Not this time around. Max Verstappen is continuing in 4th. George Russell not close enough to attack him. And Hamilton also decides against making the maneuver on Russell for now. Hamilton continues on then. Antonelli on the radio. Antonelli really wants to box at this point. Plan is looking good, says the Mercedes team. Antonelli is seeing that he's losing time to Charles Leclerc. Another half a second that Charles Leclerc eked out on the last lap. I think Antonelli just going for the super fresh tyres. Could he even go for like a soft compound tyre or something a little bit maverick inside of that Mercedes car? That would be very interesting. Antonelli, though, fighting with Bono. Let's have a little look at Hamilton then. Is he going to have a go this time around? Oh my goodness me. Looking closer and closer. And surely Hamilton down towards turn 6 is going to have a go here because he's right underneath the rear wing as they make their way through turn 5. Straight mode activated. The wings open up. Hamilton moves to the outside, tries to swing it around at turn 6. And that is sublime from Lewis Hamilton to stick it on the outside and just trust the car to follow him all the way around. George Russell, though, right underneath the rear wing of the Ferrari once more. Peels to the right-hand side of the track. They're going to be side by side with one another into turn 9. But George Russell's going to have the inside line. Hamilton's going to try and come back at him, but not this time around. Verstappen continues on in 4th. George Russell retakes, in 3rd. Russell retakes 4th, and Hamilton in 5th place. Hamilton just can't get it to stick. It's a couple of times now he's been ahead of George Russell, but Russell's been able to pounce back on him. He tried through turn 9, didn't stick. Tried through turn 6, didn't stick. Hamilton may be running out of options here. Antonelli still on the radio, asking about tyres, still trying to get the down low from Bono. And Verstappen is absolutely flying away from this. He's hoping that George Russell and Hamilton just continue to battle. I'll tell you what, though, George Russell actually within boost range where Hamilton was not this time around. So Russell now is going to have to get a little bit of a boost compared to Max. And Hamilton is not going to be able to fight in the same way he did last lap. So this is where Russell can really push and does need to make the most of it. Kimi Antonelli, though, 13 seconds ahead of Antonelli. And George Russell being given the go-ahead to keep fighting on the radio. Hamilton the same, being given some positive affirmations. So Russell and Hamilton both clearly think that the podium place is up for grabs still. Max Verstappen, I'm sure, will be talking to GP about a possible podium for him too. Antonelli, Leclerc, Verstappen are top 3, but George Russell right underneath the rear wing of the Red Bull. Lewis Hamilton in 5th place for now, but has been hampering George Russell in his fight recently by taking that 4th place. George Russell has a little look at Max Verstappen, gets to within 0.2 of a second of the 4-time world champion, but isn't quite able to do it as of yet. Hamilton is now within a second, though, so starts to get that boost once again, and once more we have Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton all within boost range of one another. Charles Leclerc, 13.7 seconds adrift of Kimi Antonelli. Antonelli, though, 32-lap-old medium tyres and still going on. Antonelli's just got past Piastri and Sainz, who are running in 14th and 15th place. Max Verstappen just making sure that he closes that gap, and George Russell looking at the back of the Red Bull. Feels like he's closer than last time around. Is George Russell going to go for the maneuver into turn 9? Verstappen making defensive maneuvers. George Russell's going to try and slingshot out of turn 8 here. And he'll just try and get to the inside line. Isn't able to do it this time around. The Red Bull able to escape away from him. George Russell on the radio. Oh, a puncture. Slow puncture right rear. Oh, that's devastating for George Russell. A right rear puncture for George Russell. It's a slow puncture by the look of things, because actually he's still able to get more pace than Max Verstappen possibly, and trying to look for the maneuver to Max Verstappen. It's going to get very close. And Verstappen just about has it. And George Russell continues on. How slow of a puncture is this? He's continuing on. Maybe the sensor is suggesting something that isn't happening, but George Russell not going to stop until that puncture starts costing him time, because he's continued on. Hamilton is now right underneath the rear wing of George Russell once again, though, and the Mercedes team saying that there's a loss of pressure inside of that rear right tyre. They won't just say it for nothing. They will have the data in front of them and see that there is a slow puncture. George Russell saying on the radio, keep me posted on the pressures. And actually being told, box this lap. Box this lap. George Russell doesn't want to see that tyre completely erupt, I would imagine. It's going to get hotter and hotter, and with the pressure building as well, and that slow puncture could just rip the tyre apart at any moment, but he's still pushing on, is George Russell, holding Lewis Hamilton at bay, closing into the back of Max Verstappen. Let's see, if George Russell does pit, Verstappen is 0.4 seconds ahead. Hamilton, so he'll actually come up behind Hadjar, will George Russell. That's pretty devastating. And here comes George Russell once again. He's fighting with Max Verstappen down towards turn 15. They go side by side. Verstappen goes onto the dust, and George Russell into the pits. So Russell does have to dive into the pits. They don't want to risk it, that tyre pressure. But actually, it's done Lewis Hamilton a massive favour there, has George Russell, because Russell has slowed down Verstappen to such a point that Hamilton is now right underneath the rear wing of the Red Bull car. 2021 flashbacks here with Verstappen leading Hamilton in Silverstone. Is he going to go for the maneuver? Are we going to see another slightly interesting maneuver from Lewis Hamilton? The last time, well, I'm sure we all have the image of Max Verstappen versus Lewis Hamilton in 2021 in our heads. Hoping that doesn't happen again here. Antonelli still going on. 34 laps completed on those mediums. Charles Leclerc's nearly done a whole 10 laps on those hard compound tyres. Antonelli still not pitting. Now he pits. Box for Kimi Antonelli. Box. Leading this Grand Prix is 13 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc. Will come out behind him in second place. And then it's about how fresh are those tyres and how much pace has Kimi Antonelli got to give. Hülkenberg is also into the pits as well. Hamilton's right underneath the rear wing of Max Verstappen. They get a little bit of a tow from Sergio Perez's Cadillac ahead. That's helped out Max Verstappen a touch possibly. And Hamilton has to settle for being behind Verstappen still. Sergio Perez moves out of the way of those two. Verstappen versus Hamilton. They are fighting for that final podium position. Kimi Antonelli comes out. So does Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg ahead of Behrman and Ocon. So that's good news for the Audi car there. Although Sainz, Piastri, Gasly, Colapinto between him and his teammate. Kimi Antonelli. 7.5 seconds. 17 laps. So needs 4 or 5 tenths a lap, really, Antonelli, to be within striking distance and then give himself a few laps to have a proper run at the back of the Scuderia. Verstappen continuing on in third place, but Lewis Hamilton half a second behind. George Russell, so unlucky to not still be within that battle. Russell now trying to get past Isaac Hadjar. Does get past Isaac Hadjar. George Russell up into 6th place. It's actually a slightly scrubbed set of medium tyres on George Russell's car. I imagine they were used during sprint qualifying on Friday. So George Russell having to use an older set of mediums. But we'll push on to the end of the Grand Prix on them. And George Russell down in 6th place. If Antonelli wins this and George Russell finishes in 6th, that is absolutely massive for the championship. Antonelli 7 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc trying to do his teammate Lewis Hamilton a favour here, because, as I say, if it closes in like this and Antonelli wins this Grand Prix, his 2 closest competitors, Hamilton and Russell, having nightmare races, really. Hamilton picking up a 5-second penalty and then being logged behind Russell and Verstappen and having to fight with those two, where he'd much rather be fighting Antonelli and Leclerc. And then George Russell picking up a puncture. So it's all playing into Kimi Antonelli's favour. Can he do the final piece of the puzzle and pick up a win here? And actually, he is lapping very, very fast. It's purple mini sectors all over the place from Kimi Antonelli. He's already 6 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. He's made up 1.5 seconds already from where he came out. He was 0.3 of a second quicker than Charles Leclerc in the first sector alone. Antonelli is flying. The pace here from Antonelli is insane compared to Charles Leclerc. Wow. It's not going to be if Kimi Antonelli catches Charles Leclerc, it's how quickly can he do it. 0.9 of a second quicker in just the second sector alone, Kimi Antonelli, as he foots in the fastest middle sector of anybody so far with a 37.1. And he was worried on the radio. He asked the team a lot about whether or not he could pit sooner. Bono and the team made the strategy call. They kept him out for an extra 10 laps compared to Leclerc. And now he is rocketing, is Kimi Antonelli. Sets the fastest final sector of anybody. Here comes Lewis Hamilton, though, down towards turn 1 against Max Verstappen. Can he do it this time around? Not this one. Hamilton, though, getting very close to that final podium place. Has the extra tyre advantage on Max Verstappen. 6 laps in his favour. Antonelli is going to be underneath the gearbox of Charles Leclerc sooner rather than later, to be honest with you. He's now 5 seconds adrift and was 2.5 seconds quicker last time around. Like, it's just absolutely obscene. Here we go then, Lewis Hamilton down towards turn 6, and finally Lewis Hamilton gets that manoeuvre past Verstappen, and Verstappen now has to settle in behind Lewis Hamilton, and Verstappen just doesn't have the tyres or the engine to be able to come back at the Ferrari car. And the Hamilton will take 3rd place. Yellow flag. It's Nico Hülkenberg. Stop the car. We have an issue. Stop the car. We have an issue. And Nico Hülkenberg has come to a stop just near turn 9. Oh, and this could be a safety car here. He's on the inside of a very fast turn 9. Has been able to pull his car over and is near the barriers. There is a little gap there. It's a virtual safety car for now. And unsurprisingly, Max Verstappen, box. Cheap pit stop under the virtual safety car. The virtual safety car will last a lot longer than the virtual safety car we had for the umbrella earlier on. This might help out Charles Leclerc just a touch, as it should neutralise Leclerc and Antonelli. They should sort of close into one another and stay the same distance apart. 5 seconds between Leclerc and Antonelli. Lando Norris also comes into the pits. Just in case this is a full safety car here, the drivers that are pitting now getting a little bit of an advantage, particularly if this virtual safety car ends and then we have a different safety car later. They'll be on much, much fresher tyres. Charles Leclerc on the radio. What's the plan? Stay out, stay out. Charles Leclerc saying on the radio, not trying to get first place then. He doesn't even believe that he can hold on to the victory of this Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc. And Charles Leclerc, yeah, it just feels like they should, right? Leclerc is so far behind. And the virtual safety car is now ending. That Marshall's doing a really good job, actually, of getting Nico Hülkenberg's car moved very quickly. Hülkenberg did stop in quite a nice place, but still a really good job from the Marshals there. Charles Leclerc continues on then. The virtual safety car has ended, so it doesn't come into the pits. And Charles Leclerc continues on. 5 second the gap then between Leclerc and Antonelli. 13 laps left to go for the Monegasque. Let's see if Kimi Antonelli can find another 2.5 seconds like he did last time they were on flying laps. Hamilton too far adrift though, it feels. It's 20 seconds behind. Hamilton actually now dealing with Ollie Behrman. It just feels like Ferrari should have pitted there. Should have probably pitted. Let's have a little look. Now, I set you the goal of 300 likes earlier on in the stream. Have we managed to hit 300 likes on the YouTube stream so far? You might be watching on Twitch. You might be watching on TikTok. I think I'm live on TikTok. Can't remember if I did it this time around. But let me know how many likes we have got on the YouTube. Oh, as a 5 second penalty comes through for Lance Stroll. 5 different track limits infringements. That is, Lance Stroll is running in 20th place. Max Verstappen being told, I guess we're pushing. We are indeed pushing. 10 seconds the gap between Verstappen and Hamilton, so needs to find about a second a lap on those fresh medium tyres, Max Verstappen. It's not impossible. He's got a 15 lap tyre delta. Hamilton's certainly up there. Oh, we're over 300 likes. I think the most live stream we've had this season has been 500. I'd be very, very impressed if we can get up to 500 likes. No further investigation on Russell and Verstappen at turn 15. There's a little bit of a to and fro between them, but nothing giving. Verstappen was pushed onto the dusty section on the outside of turn 15, but they allowed it. Piastri in 15th place, just now fighting with Ollie Behrman, but it's been a bit of a miserable afternoon for the McLaren man. Kimi Antonelli, let's have a little look at his last lap then. Antonelli 131.9, Charles Leclerc 133.1, so 1.2 seconds the delta Antonelli had there on the last lap is absolutely rattling that Mercedes car around. Was also 2.5 tenths quicker through the first sector. Antonelli is going to be right underneath the rear wing of Charles Leclerc straight away here after that virtual safety car stopped him from gaining. He'd probably be there already had it not been for the virtual safety car. Something's broken. Antonelli's going slowly. No, no, no. Another twist in the tail. Antonelli has just been overtaken by Lance Stroll, I think. Everything was looking great, and Antonelli's come into the pits. Like the suspension, possibly. Antonelli pulls in. He wants the Mercedes team to check the car over. Let's see. They come in. Have a little look. They've got a new front wing for him. Tyres are being changed. Antonelli's there once more. Oh, it's a disaster. And it's opened up the idea of Hamilton now finishing ahead of Antonelli. Verstappen now makes his way past too. And George Russell is also past. That is devastating for Kimi Antonelli. A 41-second pit stop. And he was looking electric. He was so fast. Right. Now it's Antonelli. Can he catch Verstappen to get back onto the podium places? Can he catch Russell to get 4th spot and get ahead of his teammate? What happened there for Kimi Antonelli? And here comes Lando Norris as Antonelli can't brake. Antonelli continues on. It's going from bad to worse. Antonelli's not being able to turn for turn 6. And the suspension is broken is what he's saying over the radio. Lando Norris has been able to get past. And it's gone from Antonelli fighting for the win for Antonelli fighting for his life. He's got Hadjar 7 seconds adrift. Lawson another 7 seconds behind that. But he is going very slowly indeed. Is Kimi Antonelli, and how quickly the tide can turn in Formula 1. Antonelli on the radio. I can try and keep going. We think it's just the wheel shield left-hand side. So he's going to continue on possibly. But Antonelli really struggling inside of that Mercedes car because Antonelli is now 3 seconds ahead of Isaac Hadjar, and Hadjar's going to make short work of him. The car is not turning. Bono's trying to keep Antonelli calm. But Antonelli is going to go from 43 points ahead in the championship. It's going to close down. George Russell's in 4th place. And Isaac Hadjar now makes his way past Antonelli as they go into turn 3. Hadjar then up into 6th place. Liam Lawson 7 seconds adrift. Antonelli surely has the pace to keep out of the racing bulls. No. Antonelli looking at a 7th place finish at the moment. Lawson, Lindblad, Bortoletto, the 3 drivers in the points behind. Colapinto then another 15 seconds adrift. So Antonelli should be able to get it as long as the car just keeps going. Antonelli on the radio still. And we'll box the car and retire the car. And Antonelli pleading with the team to carry on and let him just try and get a point on the board. Bono, though, on the radio saying that they want to box and retire the car. Antonelli with a huge issue inside of that Mercedes. Box the car, going to try and remove the wheel shield and go again. So Antonelli won't be completely and utterly done. Oh yeah, you can see it. On the curb of Copse. You can just see it. Will just be completely ruining the aerodynamic balance of the car there. And that's what Kimi Antonelli's feeling. That's why he thought that there was a significant problem with the car. And they have indeed pulled that off the car. Antonelli will continue on. It's going to affect the aero massively. There goes Lawson, Lindblad and Bortoletto too. So Antonelli now running in 10th spot. Oh, that is such a shame for Kimi Antonelli. He was there. He was within touching distance of another victory in Formula 1. It looked almost certain that he was going to win this Grand Prix, Kimi Antonelli. Charles Leclerc was lapping nearly 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds slower than the Mercedes. And that's just how quickly it can change. Kimi Antonelli, that wheel shield coming off and affecting the aerodynamics. And he's still messing up turn 6. Goes super deep into turn 6. Kimi off the road once more. If he gets a track limits infringement for that, it'd be very, very harsh indeed. Franco Colapinto is 1.3 seconds behind, so would inherit that final point scoring position. Kimi Antonelli on the radio said that he wanted to keep going to just get any points, a single point, and it does look like a point will be what he gets today. Antonelli 14 seconds adrift of Gabriel Bortoletto. Massive for Lawson, Lindblad and Bortoletto, by the way. They inherit some extra points for the weekend. Huge for Racing Bulls in the Constructors' Championship. Lawson and Lindblad 7th and 8th. And Antonelli is going to box to... Oh, okay. Bono on the radio said box to retire, but Antonelli continues on. And Antonelli's just come across the start-finish line, so not boxing to retire this time around. Let's keep an eye on what's happening up front. We've got Leclerc winning this. He's 21 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. I think that's fairly done and dusted for them. Verstappen then another 7 seconds adrift. Let's look at their race pace. He was 0.7 of a second quicker Verstappen, but not enough to get him alongside Lewis Hamilton by the time they get towards the end of this Grand Prix. George Russell is in 4th spot. He's 5 seconds adrift. Again, not able to do anything. Norris, not able to do anything. Looks like the top 9 are pretty much locked in. It's just whether or not Antonelli gets to the end of this race or not. Franco Colapinto not gaining on the Mercedes. Gap of a couple of seconds still there to the car behind. And Antonelli continues on. But that's kind of ruined the crescendo a tiny little bit there, hasn't it? And Kimi being told on the radio that it's likely that he's going to end up with a 5-second penalty for all of the excursions that he's had to go through because hasn't been able to keep the car on the track. Track limits infringements are adding up. He does have enough to get a penalty. It's just whether or not that penalty will come through. Whether or not the stewards will be a little bit lenient on the fact that he was driving a car that was falling apart. And that is now under investigation, though. Kimi Antonelli, track limits under investigation. So they're going to have a little bit of a problem in the Mercedes car, especially because Colapinto is within 5 seconds and will remain within 5 seconds. So Colapinto likely to pick up that final point for Alpine, which actually does matter because it kind of negates one of the points that Lawson and Lindblad have been able to inherit by jumping up a position as well. Leclerc still leading, and Leclerc now has the loveliest 6 laps ahead of him. There is the 5-second penalty confirmation for Kimi Antonelli coming through. I'll just highlight it on the tracker for you. There's that 5-second penalty, track limits for Kimi Antonelli. That is devastating, isn't it, for Kimi Antonelli, really? I do feel for him. Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton looking like a 1-2 finish for Ferrari, which I had not predicted coming into this Grand Prix. And Max Verstappen continues in 3rd place. So another brand new podium trio that we've got this year. Leclerc, Hamilton, Verstappen. George Russell just outside of the podium places in 4th spot. And again, it's like the time it goes wrong for Kimi Antonelli, it's also gone wrong for George Russell. So George Russell, yes, is going to gain some points on his teammate in the Drivers' Championship, but it would have been much better for George Russell to win this race, and then he would have had a 24-point swing as it stands. Yellow flag as someone's off. It's Max Verstappen! What is happening in this Grand Prix? Max Verstappen's gone into the gravel and he's out. Verstappen's gone wide at turn 17 by the looks of things. Oh no, sorry, at turn 15. Can you get that moving? No. Safety car. Oh my God. Max Verstappen has just thrown away a podium in Silverstone. Coming down towards turn 15, he's lost the Red Bull car. Lawson and Lindblad are screaming inside of that Racing Bulls. They've had an amazing day. Verstappen's now in. Hadjar pits under the safety car conditions. Now, Charles Leclerc, box. Let's have a little look. If the safety car doesn't pick him up, he's actually as far away from the safety car as he could possibly be, Charles Leclerc. So we'll get the opportunity to pit now. That means... yeah, Charles Leclerc will pit. Come on, Charles. Do the right thing. Safety car coming down towards turn 6 now. Charles Leclerc coming into the pits. So Charles Leclerc is going to get a pit stop under these conditions. Hamilton as well, I think so. Yeah, Hamilton will get to pit. Will George Russell? Russell will get to pit. So the safety car has just picked up Isaac Hadjar. It's going to take a few laps to shuffle this out, and we might actually end under the safety car here, because it's going to take a little while for the safety car to bunch everybody back up again. Max Verstappen, though, out of this Grand Prix. He was in third. We've gone from Antonelli winning this race to then being outside of the top 8. He's now in 9th, Kimi Antonelli, with a 5-second penalty, which actually is going to drop him outside of the points, right? Because everybody's going to bunch up under the safety car. So Antonelli's going to fall outside of the point scoring places. Lewis Hamilton's inherited 2nd. George Russell's back up into 3rd, despite having a puncture. Lando Norris is running 4th. Hadjar's 5th. Liam Lawson is now in 6th place for Racing Bulls. Ooh, George Russell decided to stay out. George Russell didn't pit. And to be fair, if we finish under the safety car, which is certainly possible, because the safety car still hasn't picked up Charles Leclerc. So if George Russell didn't pit, and actually Lewis Hamilton might be just given a 3rd place trophy because he pitted. Oh, and the back end of Max Verstappen's car just goes all awry. Ooh. Just doesn't slow down anywhere near enough. Had to steer into it, slides out, and then the rear end just loses. Oh, dear, dear. Verstappen on the radio. Not very happy, I would say, are the words from Max Verstappen. As you can imagine. Did try and roll the car backwards, but just got stuck in the gravel. A little bit like the Lego cars did earlier on, if you saw that, when the Lego cars just beached themselves in the gravel trap. Similar kind of thing for Max Verstappen there, just couldn't get the car moving again. And we're under the safety car. The safety car has finally caught Charles Leclerc. But we've got Piastri, Behrman, Ocon, Perez, Bottas, Alonso, Stroll, who have all been lapped, so they'll have to unlap themselves, and the safety car's going to have to catch them once again. George Russell hasn't even caught the back of the safety car yet. Kimi Antonelli, with a 5-second penalty, is going to drop outside of the points. It's going to be Leclerc, Russell, Hamilton, our top 3, and Ferrari with a disaster class there. Had they just stayed out, Lewis Hamilton would have got P2, but they've pitted and might end up with Hamilton P3 because of it. Feels like it's going to end on the safety car here. If I had to guess, I feel like it's going to end under the safety car. Does not feel like there's anywhere near enough time to get all those cars around again and again from underneath the safety car itself. Piastri needs to unlap himself. And Antonelli now being told that those track limits. And Antonelli very, very upset over the radio. And does feel like everything has gone wrong for Kimi Antonelli in the last 10 laps, doesn't it? He's had damage to the car, had to come into the pits 2-3 times, and then just picks up a 5-second penalty for track limits. The rules are the rules. You go off the track 5 times, you get a 5-second penalty, and we'll have to wait and see whether or not they give that 5 seconds back. They've done it before. We saw Pierre Gasly get given his position back in 3rd place in Monaco, but I don't think that will be the case. I think the stewards have decided 5-second penalty is given. We finally have a little bit of a bunch, but still Colapinto, Gasly, not yet behind the safety car. Haven't got the safety car unlapped cars either. We've got, what, Carlos Sainz backwards? Or Piastri backwards, sorry. So Piastri, Sainz, Behrman, Ocon, Perez, Bottas, Alonso, Stroll all need to unlap themselves. And Bottas is a mile away. So it's not going to be a good afternoon for Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari. If it ends like this, they are going to kick themselves for pitting when George Russell didn't. Soft compound tyres onto Lewis Hamilton's car. If we do get a lap of racing, I would back Lewis Hamilton to get the move done, but I don't know if we'll get a lap of racing is the other thing. I think the safety car might be the end. And then Lewis Hamilton talking on the radio, thinking about what he's going to do if the safety car does come in. Will we have one lap of racing under the safety car? I don't think so. We start lap 51. 2 laps left to go. And now we get the go-ahead for the lapped cars to overtake the safety car. Because they had to wait until Gasly was at the back of this pack. Piastri, Sainz, Behrman, Ocon now making their way past. Trying to do one racing lap possibly at the end, but Mylander is going very slowly indeed. Trying to give all of the cars the best opportunity to unlap themselves and get by, but we're watching the Aston Martins and Cadillacs now getting their way through. So Stroll, Perez and Bottas finally do make their way through. Max Verstappen making his way back to the pit lane. And just threw away a 3rd place at Silverstone, Max Verstappen. That is agonising. Feel like it's going to end like this, though. We can have a little look at the championship, actually. May as well, whilst we're here. Oops. Kimi Antonelli still leads the championship, 181 points as it stands. Obviously, with that 5-second penalty, we'll lose those 2 points. But Russell will be on 154, Hamilton 147, Charles Leclerc up into the hundreds finally on 108, jumps up ahead of Lando Norris. Norris will be on 97. Hadjar also jumps up a considerable amount, gets himself away from Pierre Gasly at least in the top 8. So it's an interesting way to end the Silverstone Grand Prix. It's always chaos. And the safety car is ending. Safety car is ending. We're going to get one lap of racing. One lap of racing. Safety car is going to come in. Antonelli didn't pit and has a 5-second penalty. It's looking pretty good if you're Franco Colapinto. And possibly even Pierre Gasly as well. Well, actually, that 5-second penalty definitely will get him in front. Piastri is an interesting one. Oh, no, Piastri's with the lapped cars, isn't he? No, not able to do anything there, Oscar Piastri. That's going to be done and dusted. It's George Russell versus Lewis Hamilton on a 1-lap shootout. George Russell, 22-lap old medium tyres. He actually used them during the sprint qualifying session on Friday. So they've done an extra... Oh! Safety car didn't come in. It's been redeployed. That's it. We're going to finish behind the safety car. The safety car didn't come into the pits. Did not come into the pits. We are not going to get one final lap of racing. We are on the final lap of the Grand Prix. And it's going to be under safety car conditions. So there's something that they have seen and they don't want to get going again. And Ferrari's decision to pit Lewis Hamilton has cost him a 2nd place. 3-point swing in favour of George Russell, purely and simply because the safety car did not end. Wow. Antonelli is going to fall backwards then. Colapinto is going to finish 9th. Gasly's going to finish 10th. So 3 points on the board for Alpine. And we are going to finish under the safety car. Let's have a little look then. If those 3 points go to Alpine, they will just jump ahead of Racing Bulls. They're going to be a point ahead of Racing Bulls, Alpine, because of that 5-second penalty for Antonelli. So Alpine are going to jump back ahead of Racing Bulls by a single point. And also Charles Leclerc is going to jump up to 4th place in the driver's standings. Lindblad is also going to jump a couple of places up to 11th behind his teammate. And is on 20 points now ahead of Ollie Behrman. Colapinto will actually be on equal points with Ollie Behrman as well. So it's starting to get a little bit tasty in that midfield pack. But we are going to end under the safety car here at the British Grand Prix. It was an absolutely chaotic race. It had a little bit of everything, didn't it? It had punctures for George Russell. It had penalties for Lewis Hamilton. But there's one man who's been able to just keep going. Whatever's been happening, Charles Leclerc. He's had the consistency, he's had the reliability, and he's going to finish in 1st place here. George Russell's going to finish in 2nd, despite a puncture. Lewis Hamilton's going to finish in 3rd, despite a penalty. Lando Norris is going to inherit 4th place after Max Verstappen decided to put it in the wall. And Charles Leclerc coming around the final corner and takes the checkered flag. Leclerc from Russell, Hamilton, Norris, Hadjar, Lawson, Lindblad, Bortoletto, Colapinto and Gasly are your point-scoring finishers. Piastri finishes just outside of the points, agonisingly in 11th place. Carlos Sainz finishes 12th, Behrman 13th, Ocon 14th, Perez 15th, Antonelli falls all the way to 16th place after that 5-second penalty behind the safety car. 17th place for Valtteri Bottas, 18th for Fernando Alonso, and the final finisher is Lance Stroll, who comes home in 19th place for Aston Martin. Wow, 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 wow. What a Grand Prix. What a weird weekend. And everybody else just threw away their any chance of getting a podium or a victory or anything else. Charles Leclerc was the man who just kept everything going. It's a war of attrition for Charles Leclerc in this one. He just made sure he kept his car in working condition and he kept putting in the lap times. And I'll tell you what, it's worked out perfectly for him. Charles Leclerc, your winner of the 2026 Silverstone Grand Prix. George Russell, Lewis Hamilton behind him in 2nd and 3rd place. Hamilton is going to be seething with that decision to pit under the safety car. George Russell deciding to stay out and the Mercedes team getting it right. But that is the end of the stream. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for watching. Now there's lots of different options you can go to for watch-alongs. Appreciate it massively. If you could hit the like button on your way out, that'd be absolutely incredible. And why not, whilst you're watching the celebrations on the podium, check out the first link in the description. I made a video about who I think will go into that seat alongside Ollie Behrman at Haas. I would massively appreciate it if you could hit that link, get the views up on that one, and just help out the channel. It's a good video. It's a good video in my opinion. I know that I made it, but it's good. Check it out. First link in the description. Thank you so much for watching again. And I will see you in a couple of weeks' time live for the Belgian Grand Prix. But a few videos coming your way over the next couple of weeks as well. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. And I'll see you very soon.